And welcome to the April 5th meeting of the City of Vista Planning Commission. Would you all please rise and join us in the pledge led by Commissioner Hastings?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Beth. Ms. Presby, roll call, please.
Chair Rossler, all commissioners and student commissioners are present with the exception of John Savage.
Very good. Commissioners, the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our March 15th meeting. As we've done in the past, tonight will be by hand vote. So if there are no corrections to the minutes, can we hear a motion to approve the minutes from March 15th?
I'll move approval.
Commissioner Grimm moves approval. Is there a second?
I
Second.
Commissioner Garrettson seconds. Cast your vote, please. Raise your right hand. And motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Ms. Chow, any changes to our agenda tonight?
Good evening, Chairman Rossler. No changes tonight. Thank you.
Very good. All right. The next item on our agenda is oral communications. This is a time that the commission sets aside for members of the public to address the commission on items that are not on our agenda. You would need to fill out a speaker slip, and I don't believe I have any for oral communications. Is there anyone wishing to address the commission tonight under oral communications? Seeing none, we'll move on to our item tonight, which is a discussion item. This is not a public hearing. This is an early design review of a proposed project. The project has, as you'll hear from staff in a moment, has been initially submitted to the city. It has not been distributed to any other departments. It comes directly to the Planning Commission, and we give our input, and we'll review the site plan, the architectural elevations, the landscaping plan, and other amenities. And we'll give comments to the applicant, and they will take those comments and go back and continue with their project. There will not be a vote. There won't be a decision tonight, but this is an early chance for an applicant to get into the city, find out where Planning Commission's at with the project, find out where members of the public are at. It's not a public hearing, but we will take public testimony, and I'll let you know when that is. You will be limited to 3 minutes, so keep your comments concise and try not to, we got a large crowd, so try not to be repetitious. If there's something a previous speaker has said that you agree with, say I agree with the previous speaker on traffic, so as an example. So having said all of that, Mr. Ressler, the project's yours, I believe. Staff report.
Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. The project before you tonight is an early design review for our Park Avenue Apartments project. The application number is P22-0074. The project address is 165 Eucalyptus Avenue. Although the chairman just went over the purpose of the meeting, I'll quickly go over it as well. But the EDR is designed to provide the Planning Commission opportunity to look at initial project proposals and provide feedback to the applicant. The project has not been routed or fully reviewed by city staff. The applicant will answer questions in regards to the design of the project and the thought process behind the initial proposal. There will be no formal vote or action associated with the ER item. Staff has received a preliminary proposal to develop 176 apartment units on a 2.91 acre site. This site is circular in shape. It's surrounded by Eucalyptus Drive, Park Avenue, as well as Ocean View Drive. The site is currently occupied by the New Community Church of Vista, which would be demolished as part of this project. Site improvements associated with this proposal include parking structure, landscaping, as well as open space amenities. Off-site improvements would include sidewalk, curb, and gutter surrounding the site, angled parking and landscape islands in front of the site, decorative crosswalks, as well as traffic calming measures. The applicant is requesting and currently processing a vacation request to vacate 7 feet of the public right-of-way surrounding the site in order to accommodate the proposed public improvements. The applicant is requesting a 50% density bonus pursuant to state law. The maximum density allowed per the Downtown Vista specific plan would be 40 dwelling units per acre, which would equate to 117 units. The proposed density for the project, it would be 176 units, which equates to 60.5 dwelling units per acre. In return, the project would allocate 15% of the total density prior to the bonus for very low income households. And that equates to about 18 units in regards to affordable units. Very low income households earn 50% of the area median income. So for an example of a family of 4, the total income would be $60,600. Based on state law, this project does qualify for 3 concessions, which basically means relief from city development standards. This project also has the opportunity to utilize the density bonus parking requirements pursuant to state law. And staff wants the City Planning Commission to note that there's limited discretion in regards to the project density and concessions that are requested associated with this project. Here's an aerial photograph of the site. Surrounding land uses include commercial to the north, south, and west, and residential uses to the east. The general plan land use designation for the site is mixed use with the availability of commercial and residential up to 40 dwelling units per acre. The zoning of the site is Downtown Vista specific plan, the historic downtown district. Also allows for commercial as well as residential with the maximum density of 40 dwelling units per acre. Here's an aerial photograph of the site. Again, 2.91 acres. The site currently maintains a number of buildings on site associated with the church use, landscape improvements, as well as parking lot improvements. And again, all improvements on site would be demolished in association with the proposed project. Here's 2 panoramic photos of the site. The top photograph is looking southeast at the project site, and the lower photograph is looking northwest at the project site. The proposed project would require a site development plan pursuant to the Downtown Vista specific plan. The project includes 176 units, and 18 of those units would be allocated to very low income households. Setbacks in the Downtown Vista specific plan would be 0 for front and side yard setbacks. It's notated in your staff report. There's a 10-foot setback requirement for front and side. That's a typo. It would be 0 front and side. In regards to the rear, we have a 15-foot rear yard setback, and this project encroaches into the required rear yard setback. The Downtown Vista specific plan also requires a 10-foot step back above 2 stories adjacent to 1- and 2-story buildings, and this project currently encroaches into that required step back requirement. The project includes 56 one-bedroom units and 120 two-bedroom units. The proposed density of this project, again, is 60.5 dwelling units per acre. The city's general plan would allow up to 40 dwelling units per acre for this site. In terms of height, the project is 4 stories. It's approximately 52 feet surrounding the site. However, the tallest point of the building to the average natural grade is 57.5 feet. That exceeds the height limitations in the Downtown Vista specific plan, which is 35 feet. In regards to parking, the downtown Vista specific plan requires 340 parking spaces. This project would provide a total of 236 parking spaces on site, which meets the state density bonus parking ratio, which would equate to 236 parking spaces. The City of Vista design guidelines requires projects with 50 or more units to maintain 3 common amenities. This project would provide a pool, common courtyards with public art, gathering space, as well as passive outdoor space. The submitted site plan illustrates a 4-story apartment building surrounded by a multi-level parking garage. Access to the parking garage would be provided by a 2-way driveway, accessed from a driveway on the southern edge of the site. Off-site improvements again include sidewalk, curb and gutter, angle parking with landscape improvements, decorative sidewalk, and traffic calming measures. The submitted landscape plan illustrates a number of open space amenities, including a pool, common courtyards, public art, gathering space, as well as passive open space. Here are 3 sections of the site which illustrate the design of integrating the project into the existing topography of the site. The architectural style of this project is contemporary, utilizing multicolored stucco exterior finishes with articulated walls enhanced with corrugated metal, stone accent siding, as well as decorative railings. Here's a perspective of the project looking south across Eucalyptus Drive. Here's a perspective of the project looking north across Eucalyptus Drive. And here's a perspective of the project looking northwest across Park Avenue. Staff is requesting the Planning Commission provide comments to the applicant related to the project design. At this time, the applicant, a representative of the applicant, Greg Dracus, has a PowerPoint presentation to provide to the Planning Commission. After that presentation, staff and the applicant will be available for any questions you might have tonight. Thank
Okay,
you.
let's proceed with the applicant's presentation.
Yeah, you're right. Correct.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Greg Dracos with Cross Real Estate Investors. We are the applicant that's pursuing the project. And I'd just like to walk you through a couple of the big ideas and things behind the project and the way we approach it. We understand that this is a significant project, and we've been working with staff to go through both some of the ideas around the right-of-way and the area and the improvements in the offsite improvements surrounding the project, but also the project itself. Again, we understand this is a large site, and it's sort of one of the last large sites, or the last large site that's a component of the Downtown Vista specific plan. And I'll bring you through some of these ideas that we applied, again, working with staff and both with the architect when it came to the site. So first thing is connectivity. Obviously, this represents an incredible opportunity to bring residential units, 100% residential units, connected directly to the downtown to help support and feed the businesses in the downtown. And we hear often about projects. We see a lot of projects that have, that are pitched to us around they're walkable and they're connected. But the reality is it's rare that you see a site that's or even an opportunity like you have here to actually tie the project directly into a downtown. It's truly walkable. So, and let me just pause here for a second. We have our principal architect with us tonight as well. So he's happy to answer any additional questions that there might be around some of these big ideas. So on the connectivity side, you can see here, if you look at the slides, I'm not sure if you guys were given a copy of this, but this site, as everybody knows, you have Indiana that's directly to the northwest of the site, and you have Eucalyptus directly to the west. Currently, as you look at the site, it's there's dirt that sort of comes directly down to the circle surrounding and the roadway surrounding the site. There are no crosswalks. There are no sidewalks. It's quite frankly fairly unsafe to cross from the site itself. So the idea and the thought pattern here was that we could really create some infrastructure offsite to make it safer to circulate around the site and safer to transit to and from the site itself. You could see some of the ideas that came into play, and Michael mentioned some of these during his presentation, but new pedestrian crosswalks and the circles there in blue. You have crosswalks both going over Eucalyptus at the intersection of Indiana and Eucalyptus. And we've observed, spending a lot of time on the site, that's a particularly, and we've heard this feedback from staff as well, that's a particularly dangerous area where cars come very quickly down Eucalyptus to take that right turn onto Indiana. So we've included traffic calming measures, including that pop out at that area of the site with stop sign that's not easily seen on this here, but you have that traffic calming for that right-hand turn from Eucalyptus to Indiana. You have a similar thing at the connectivity from the site over to, I guess it'd be toward Pepper Tree on Eucalyptus Ave. And then finally, there's a stop sign that, again, it's sort of shown demarcation there with a line at Ocean View. There are new sidewalks that surround the entire site itself. And there are street level pedestrian plazas. So both of the areas that you would cross the site from Indiana into the site and also from Eucalyptus into the site, you have these street level pedestrian plazas that are designed to be much more inviting than obviously what you have there today, but welcoming kind of into the project and into the area. There's project parking on site. So as Mike mentioned, there is a structured parking garage in the middle of the site that's wrapped by the building and hidden from view. And then finally, in these improvements, there's off-site public parking, which adds roughly 52, I think it's 50 or 52 spaces surrounding the site. The next idea was to take advantage of the visual corridors. So this was really a tremendous opportunity that we saw when we first visited the site and went into downtown and went to the west and sort of walked around the downtown village. There's incredible view from Main Street directly into the site. And there's also a tremendous view from Eucalyptus as you're coming down Santa Fe and turning, going around the roundabout and turning to come in toward the site. So we've included significant public art in these pedestrian plazas to really take advantage of those visual corridors. Significant landscape around the site. As you can see shown here, there are landscape islands, street trees, and things to dramatically improve just the visualization of the site from any different angle. And then we purposely put the parking structure in the middle of the project, what's traditionally called the wrap project, to be able to hide it from view and not have, just an unsightly large parking structure or field of parking as it exists today for the project. So as Michael showed, this is a north view. Sorry, this is looking south, actually. So it's from the north looking south from Indiana. So this is effectively just the rendering if you're looking from that new traffic calming sort of curb pop out landscape island into the site. And you can see we have public art. You could see that the public plaza, the pedestrian plaza as we call it, is designed to be at street level to be, more accessible and inviting than if there were a wall or, sort of how the building looks today in the upper right-hand corner. Again, there's public art and the public plaza is designed to be at street level to be more inviting or appealing for the project. The final big idea is what we think of as recognize the site as a transition area. So we understand that the site represents going from the downtown to more of a residential, low-scale neighborhood. And this is particularly challenging, right? Because the site is directly on that border. So we put a lot of thought into this, and we look forward to, obviously, the commissioner's comments, but also the public who's here's comments. So we looked at the building and said, there's really two sides to this project. One is the active kind of business facing side, which you see in blue. And then the other side is the quieter, more residential side, shown in sort of the orange tan color. So we've intentionally placed all the leasing and amenities and everything that sort of we think of as being active within the project toward the active side or toward the business community, and everything that's passive and quiet. And you see, for example, in the courtyards that are residential facing, that there are no amenities in there. There are no functional things. They're just sort of quiet. That's facing the residential side. Item 3 here, we refer to the building as sort of wings, meaning, you have these different wings that sort of stick out from the center of the project, and that's intentional in order to make the project appear at a lower scale from any given angle. This site is very, very unique in that obviously it's circular. It's very unusual. It has a fair amount of slope, as you can see there, 30, 35 feet from the southeast to the northwest. So, this wing design of the building allows, again, it sort of breaks up the massing and scale from any particular angle. There are a variety of roof heights and step backs, as Michael mentioned, and it's difficult to see this necessarily in the section view below, but it's shown a little bit further in the renderings. The passive side of the project is below grade, or at least partially below grade, because the site effectively curves up as it goes around around Ocean View Drive. And then, of course, there's significant landscaping and landscape islands in the right of way and also on the site to shield the building and break it up from a massing and scale perspective. So this is the view as everybody saw from looking, I guess, from the southeast sort of toward the northwest as Park Ave and Ocean View sort of drops off there. And you can see that the building is partially, in this view at least, sort of partially below grade, and then it's further below grade as you would circulate to the west around down Ocean View. So I guess the intent of us providing this additional information is to go beyond just the technical aspect of the project that Michael presented and talk a little bit more to some of the thoughtfulness, some of the ideas, and some of the effort that's been put into the project thus far. And otherwise, we welcome your comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. This is normally the time that we have commissioners' questions of staff or the applicant. Kind of difficult to see you guys tonight, so wave at me if you want to speak. So any questions of staff or the applicant? Commissioner Grimm?
Yeah, where'd the applicant go? There he is. Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. I just had a couple of quick questions. Do you have any idea how much parking would be created on street after the sidewalk improvements? And
It's approximately, let me,
Surrounding the site, and compared to currently striped parking around the site equates to 36 spaces.
okay. And the second question is, have you had any neighborhood meetings at all with the neighbors?
we actually held a public outreach event last week, and we did.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Really?
you'll get your, hey, listen up. You'll get your opportunity. It's his turn right now.
So last week?
So actually exactly a week ago on the property at the church, we put flyers out into mailboxes surrounding the site. And we also contacted various downtown businesses, invited them to the outreach meeting, and did a presentation, for example, to the Vista Chamber of Commerce board members, invited everyone there to the meeting. Unfortunately, we did not have a tremendous turnout. There's a much better turnout tonight than what we had at the meeting last week. So,
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
sure.
Commissioner Aguilar?
Thank you, Chairman. My question, I guess, is for staff. They're asking for 3 different concessions.
Well, the project based on state law, the 15% allocation to variable income equates to 3 concessions. This is a conceptual design, so I don't necessarily know what the conclusion of this project is going to be. As of right now, I can identify 3 concessions identified within the concession.
So my question has to do with, to start with parking. So it's a little bit confusing because I heard the 52 thrown in, that's offsite. The project is 236 spaces.
On site, correct.
The requirement for the city is 340, right?
Pursuant to the downtown Vista specific plan.
So this is one of the concessions, correct?
No, that's not a concession. They're following the state law.
So
the
the
state
state
law-
law says that they need to have 1 for each.
State law indicates that you have to have 1 parking space for 1 bedroom unit and
2.
1.5 parking spaces for 2 to 3 bedroom units.
So the law that you refer to on note 1, I looked it up on the state website, and it says 2 on-site parking spaces.
It's been updated, so I'm not sure if you looked at the most current standard.
Maybe
because
not.
It was
Apparently
actually
not.
reduced down to 1.5. We recognize this in the middle of 2 separate projects that were before the Planning Commission. It was actually reduced. We identified that on the North Santa Fe apartment project that you just recently approved. It was reduced down to 1.5 for the 2 to 3 bedroom.
Okay. Well, obviously, I'm asking these questions because the number of parking spaces seems awfully low for this size of a project. Then the other question I have would be obviously with the height. 35 is what the downtown specific plan specifies. They're asking for 52 feet. Where do we draw the line on that?
Actually, the height would be a concession, so there is no discretion at this point associated with height.
Amanda Guy, Deputy City Attorney. So there is limited discretion to deny a concession, and I can provide the standard for you, but it is constrained under state law. So when we're presented with a concession, we need to find that the proposed concession does not result in identifiable and actual cost reductions, would cause a public health or safety problem, would cause an environmental problem, would harm historical property, or would be contrary to law in order to deny. So the burden would be on the city to prove that one of those circumstances exists.
Okay. All right, that's my questions for now, Chairman. I don't think this thing's working now. Is it?
Is the green button on?
Green's on.
Okay. Commissioner Looney?
Michael, how did you determine what the front yard setback and the rear yard setback was?
I would, as the applicant indicated, I consider the front being the active open space, the leasing area, which faces the west side of the site, whereas the passive open space and the rear of the building would be on the east side. That was the way it was, that's how the staff identified the orientation of the site.
Okay,
However, yes, it's a difficult site to define in terms of the side, rear, front.
okay. I know on some properties, the applicant has the opportunity to determine what is a side yard and what is a rear yard. So I was just curious on that. You had said something about a 7-foot easement or 7-foot encroachment?
Actually, going through the process of vacating 7 feet of the public right of way in order to accommodate the additional parking and some of the improvements along the edge of the property.
Okay,
So that is over before the city council. I think that's May 24th.
okay. And then coming back to the building height issue, so they are asking for a 50% increase in building height, which I know we've got state policy to deal with, but that's seems excessive for being on the edge of a residential community. If it was downtown on Main Street, I can see that possibility, but when it comes right up against to the edge of a residential area, that's a little, in my opinion, a little excessive. And then there's another question. I guess that was it for staff. Thank you.
Commissioner Garrettson.
Yes, I just want to clarify. Is this on?
No, they're not.
None of them are on. Okay. I just want to clarify that the houses are basically 10 feet above the same grade as these apartments. And with a 50-foot height on these apartments, you're talking about all the houses behind there looking up at 40 feet. So I'm just clarifying that that's the difference. So people who have now basically an unobstructed view of the downtown area from up high will now see just the building. I just want to clarify that that's the difference. They're now looking at 40 feet up of building.
To clarify that, that's the building on the side facing toward the residential is actually approximately one level below grade at the street level. So the homes across the street would actually be higher. Let's say, for example, there's, and you can slightly see it in this section view on the right-hand side where the lighter orange color is. So the homes on the opposite side of the street on Ocean View, for example, would be at the equivalent level of the third floor for, approximately, or, third, fourth, something to that effect.
Okay. But a tremendous difference between 10 feet and 50 feet in terms of the slope. The houses
Right,
are
but
10 feet above the same base level as the apartments, but the apartments go up 50 feet.
Right,
So
but
they're looking up at 40 feet.
right, but the apartments, the site itself is down below 10 feet.
All right, 30 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Bill, did you have a question?
Do we think these are on?
You just have to speak up. I think they're on to record the meeting and, but not for the audience.
I just wasn't clear on if a step back is encroached on, how is that significant as far as concessions or whatever?
So the step back is a development standard within the downtown Vista specific plan. So it's a requirement. So the building facing the single-family homes to the east or the single-story structures to the east, the buildings on site would have to be stepped back. The third and fourth floor, a 10-foot step back. The developer has stepped portions of the building back, but not all of the third and fourth story is stepped back from the property line. So it's inconsistent with code. So the developer would be required to utilize a concession in order to accommodate the design that he's provided before you tonight.
Thank you.
Increases his development area, right?
That's correct.
I also feel that the increase in height is just a little too extreme. I would rather it were a little lower.
We'll get to our comments in a little bit. We're questions right now. Any other questions of staff or the applicant? Commissioner Garrettson?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
One of the things that's really helpful as planning commission is to have a site survey that show the actual and the proposed grades. None of that was included in the design packet at that time. Because that tells the real story. Your site sections are very schematic. really conceptual. And that really doesn't give us a lot of information to make good decisions to help you get this process. We've got to have good information, we have to have accurate information, and a lot of it's lacking on this package because it's so conceptual. So as you come back, as you work with staff, I would encourage you to get some of that information so we can make some good evaluations on what is proposed.
Understood. Yeah, and we obviously followed the guidelines for the initial application, but happy to provide as we progress through the meeting any additional requests or insight. Happy to provide that for the future.
That was one of the points I wanted to make, but also this has proposed 18 affordable units. How are you going to manage those units? Are you going to contract that out? Are you going to have somebody on site do it? Obviously, you have to work through the city, but what is your plan at this point?
It's a good question. So we work with a third-party property management firm that, they manage several other properties in town, including the Persea property on North Santa Fe and the Ryland property here in downtown. So they're at least one of the firms that we're speaking with at this point, and they handle the management of the affordable component of the project.
And the quality of all of the apartments are the same, regardless of whether they're affordable or market rate, correct?
That's correct. Per the state density bonus law, we're required to obviously have
Okay,
equivalent
thank you.
quality as well as equivalent unit mix of, ones and two bedrooms based on the percentage unit mix in the rest of the project.
Thank you.
We didn't have any information on size and square footage of the bedrooms, and I'm particularly concerned about the two-bedroom units. What can you tell me about those?
At this point, and Darren, I don't know if you have any additional thoughts or to speak to that, but from our perspective, it's conceptual in the floor plans. We sort of have this, the traditional approaches that we do these various layouts and, try and ensure that we can fit the unit mix. So we haven't actually designed the units themselves in the floor plans at this stage. It's sort of, again, architecture firm has a good understanding of what can and can't fit. But generally speaking, today in the marketplace, you see units between the smaller one-bedroom units around 600 to say 650 square feet, and then two-bedroom units anywhere from 950 to 1,000, 50 or 1,100 square feet.
Let me tell you what one of my concerns is on the two-bedroom, and it's what's sometimes considered a dual master, where both bedrooms have their own ensuite bathroom. I see that as a potential problem, especially since you're asking for a concession or using the state standard for parking. A dual master could have two couples and four cars in that unit. So I'm concerned about that. Tell me about you're going to have a reduced number of parking spaces. How's that going to be managed? Do you have who's going to be approved to park in the building, and how are you going to limit the number of cars that they can have?
So that process for the on-site parking, because it's something we've talked about with staff and with engineering about it, the willingness for us to provide and build the infrastructure off-site, which is public parking. That is not, just to clarify, that is not parking for the project itself. The parking spaces on-site are managed through the property management firm and through the leasing process, where people are assigned either a specific space or a number of spaces as part of their lease agreement.
Okay. All right. When you come back in, I'm going to be interested to see in your description of the project how that's going to be handled.
Sure.
Yeah, I was interested in how setbacks were going to be determined on a circle. So thank you, Don. Okay. All right. I got a couple more. Is there going to be direct access from the units to parking spaces?
There will. So the way the parking garage is laid out And I'm not sure I totally understand what you mean by direct access.
From the parking space, a door into the unit.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. So the parking garage will be in the center of the structure, as you could see in the conceptual plan, and then that will lead to hallways to the various units.
Okay. And 4 stories. Okay. Don, you had one more question?
Just on the parking, as you had brought forward, one of the things I think we need to be mindful of, that if we've got so few parking spaces, and we know we're going to have more cars than allocated parking on site, the excess or overflow parking is going to end up downtown. And I want to be mindful that the businesses have adequate parking for their patrons. Because downtown can be congested.
Mhm.
Friday night, Saturday night, even Thursday night, there's no place to park. And so I see the potential of having overflow parking from that property infiltrating downtown that has the potential of hurting their businesses.
I understand your concern. I agree. So any other questions of staff for the applicant? Thank you very much. Okay,
Chairman,
Gary?
are you going to have to do a traffic study? Do they have to do a traffic study? for this come?
We haven't even analyzed the project at this point. It hasn't even been submitted as a formal application at this point. Nothing has been determined. There is a program, EIR, that was done for the downtown Vista specific plan back in 2015. So I'm not sure if the project would tear off of that EIR or not. But at this point, a determination hasn't been made. But that could be a potential for future consideration in regards to environmental analysis.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will now open it up to hear from the public. I have speaker slips if you wish to address the commission. If you'll fill out a speaker slip and give it to Ms. Presby, our recording secretary, and Julia Shiver, followed by Judy Furry. Julia?
Yeah, hi.
Okay.
Good evening.
Going to have to kind of speak up this
Okay.
evening. Name and address for us and then.
Okay,
got
Julia
3 minutes.
Shriver, 1425 Vale Terrace Drive. I grew up here. My granddaddy bought a ranch in 26, so we have a lot of history here. My 4 siblings and I grew up at community church, and it's very hard to see the elders sell out to a developer. With that said, I was here, I moved back in 2018, and I attended a city hall meeting from the developer who was out at Green Oaks Ranch. He spent 3 years trying to get it right. He walked the beat. He didn't put flyers at a church or in a mailbox. He walked and knocked on every door, every business. It took him 3 years to go back to the drawing board, but he got a standing ovation, and I was there. I think that this developer should do that with the neighborhoods behind. It's not right. You're taking a view away, and the traffic, they should have an EIR. It's going to burden all the businesses. You have 176 units. Some of them are, like you said, 2-bedroom. It's going to be way more than 176 cars. It's going to be over 350. So where are you going to put the parking? This is what I recommend. First of all, this is an historical site. This is going to be an environmental hazard with the traffic, with the burden on the neighborhoods and the businesses. So think about that. Don't let the developer dictate to you what you and we collectively decide. We tell the developer what we will accept. This is a Spanish building. It would be nice to have something like that. it'd be nice to have underground parking. And if you can accommodate the spaces per unit, like one bedroom would, they're going to have 2 cars. If you can't accommodate that, then they should have to lower the unit numbers. It just won't work. Oceanside, you can't imagine the debacle in the neighborhoods and the businesses because city council and planning didn't listen to the residents and businesses. I recommend that you don't go, if you do underground parking, then if you go 2-story or whatnot, you're not going to take the view, like you said, away from behind the residents. And they should implement solar. They should implement captured rainwater and recycled water. And if you're going to have parking spaces and they're not going to go right from door to garage, are you going to have security? You shouldn't encroach and take away other people's land rights because you want to build up and get more space. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy Fury, followed by Edward Paul Watkins. You're up next. Ms. Fury.
Thank you. First of all, my name is Judy Fury. My husband and I live at 471 Ocean View Drive. And the church is, what I understand, 96 years old. It should be designated an historic site and not be torn down. I don't know if this is true or not. I heard a rumor that Calvary Chapel Vista offered the exact same amount of money for the property to move there and they were turned down. I don't know if that's true, but I want to get that out there in case it is, because here is this historic church building and it should, in my opinion, it should remain a Christian church. We don't need more apartments in this neighborhood. We've already had our fill of looking at high rises and now the hideous mural that's on the side of the one on Santa Fe that looks scary and demonic to me. I don't know why somebody thinks that's okay to put up there. But the other things I want to say is we received nothing in our neighborhood about a neighborhood meeting. And I live next door to Lori and Ralph Medina, who still go to that church. And I believe Lori is on staff there and heard nothing about a meeting. So please, if you can, provide evidence that you had a flyer, because none of us knew.
Address your comments.
All right, thank you. I think this is going to cause massive safety issues as far as pedestrians. If this is supposed to be pedestrian friendly for downtown, how is that going to be safe for us to get in and out of our neighborhood? We're on Ocean View Drive, and as you know, our street begins and ends Civic Center to Santa Fe, and it will become a thoroughfare for people trying to cut through. We have no sidewalks. The only sidewalk in our entire neighborhood is where 2 houses on Crest that are newer, that were built, and they were required to put sidewalks in. So and it's just 2 lanes, and we have no parking unless it's in our own driveways. And just to remind everybody, the downtown overflow parking was the church parking lot. So all of this, envision of parking, I don't know, maybe we'll have flying vehicles by the time this is built, but it is unrealistic and unsafe. I'm wondering what capacity the other apartment buildings are at this point, because the only business I see is a bank that's on the lower level of all these structures. So where, why are all these apartments filled? Because I certainly don't see that happening. Why do we need all these other units when people are leaving California? our views, the noise, we're already dealing with the street rods, zooming down Paseo Santa Fe. This is just going to add more to it. And that affects our property values. This was a peaceful neighborhood. This is the first neighborhood in Vista. I don't know if you all need to be reminded of that. It is the very first neighborhood. And it's affecting our property values. It's going to affect our views. Most of us don't have air conditioning, so we need to have our doors and windows open. We don't want the noise. We don't need to have all of this. And it really is not right. So anyway, thank you for your time. And I want to say that I really appreciate that you all are listening to our comments and appreciating the feedback that we're getting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Watkins?
My name is Edward Paul Watkins. I
Name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
live at 463 Ocean View Drive. I live directly. There's a lot across from this church, and then my house is on the upper hillside. I have a deck that spans all the way across my house. It's been there since 1961. I had a view clear over to Oceanside. Currently, you've built this large monstrosity downtown that I can look now right in their windows at the end of my street at Ocean View. You built the other low-income housing that I have to look into. And now southwest of my house, you built 2 more buildings they're equivalent to my site. Now you're going to build one right directly to block the rest of my view. And with looking at this 2021 through 2029 housing element report that you've posted online, it's going to state that max density housing is the way to go for the city of Vista going forward. And in there, it already stated that there was an oversaturation of apartment developments. And that since 1990 to 2018, there's been a 44% increase of people between 45 and 64 years old coming to Vista. In that population, the majority of the market for those people is relative to high-cost condos and single-family houses, not apartments and not low-income housing. So you're doing a disproportionate service to your constituents by building these apartments and these low-income housing around it. And I know it's great income to the city for property taxes and this high-density housing, but when my family built this house up on the hill, a custom house, all of them custom houses, they built it for the beautiful view to last for years, and you're surrounding us with all this high-density housing. Like she said, that there's no sidewalks, no street lights, it's 2-lane road. You're almost hitting people coming up and down that hill. Since you've calmed the traffic down in South Santa Fe from 4 lanes to 2, our traffic has increased considerably coming up and down that hill. And now you're going to put more right below my house with more traffic cutting through there. And as a total, you're doing a disservice to your community. Thank you.
Cam? Followed by Monica.
My name's Cam Shellhoop. I live at 452 Ocean View Drive, and I grew up in this community. I've seen a lot of changes. I really don't have a whole lot to add to what's already been said. As you know, you're part of the city. Part of the city's responsibility is maintaining the quality of life, not just bringing in more density. And I think that's important. One of the issues we have besides traffic is I would like to know, we have a water crisis. Where's the water going to come from without penalizing the people that are already here? So I look to you, the committee, and to the city to protect the people that are here. And I'm not against development. I'm not against growth, but I believe it should be controlled and it should be responsible. Thank you.
Okay. Monica Shellhoop, followed by Jeff Lyer.
Can you hear me now?
You're all
Let's
just
see.
going to have to speak up tonight. I'm sorry. They're redoing the council chambers, and this is where we're at tonight. So, sorry. I apologize. Yes, ma'am.
Instead of, I know to turn to you, that would be good. And also, how about that?
As long as it's okay with the cameraman.
I guarantee you. I have a big voice. And being an opera singer in my earlier life gives me a lot of thrust.
Go ahead. You have
Go.
3 minutes.
My name is Monica Shelfu. I live at 452 Ocean View Drive. I've been a resident of Vista for 23, almost 24 years, since I married Pam Shelfu. His family was one of the founding, I think, families here in this community. They came from Lebanon through Ellis Island to Vista in 1928. And I'm from Whittier, California, and I don't know if anybody knows Whittier here, but Whittier is very closely connected with Pasadena, with Occidental College, that it actually is brother with the Whittier College, because they both are Ivy League colleges. And architecture is a big theme in Whittier. It's a nice, at the time when I grew up there, was a nice small Quaker town, a suburb of Los Angeles. And I have to say, I'm really disappointed with Vista because you have not kept in the tradition architecturally of this city, of how it was started. You know, I appreciate the Paseo Santa Fe area, but then those apartment buildings that they are currently still working on, where did that come from? That's not South, you know, that's not it doesn't fit. It would fit in the barrios and in the industrial areas of Los Angeles, but I don't see it fitting here. And your architecture of this doesn't fit either. And I don't like it. And it's in my backyard. And I don't like that because my property right now is worth quite a bit because my husband's father built it back in 1948. And we still live there. And it is a Mediterranean style home. And this does not work for me. And I would like to inspire you, people, as people that are running our city, have some pride. Think about our city. Think about the people that live here, the people who built this. This is not what we want. Is this what you want for your grandchildren? Think about that before you give these people the okay to do what they're doing to our city. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'd leave, but my husband is here. He's rooted in this place.
Thank you. Jeff Lawyer.
Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone.
Lucille Thomason. Okay.
I submitted some questions yesterday. I think everybody should have a copy of this, so I'm just going to kind of go through them very quickly. I noticed on the design drawings, I don't see any solar panels or rooftop equipment. And I also noticed that there's only 3 elevation views on the drawings. We're missing that north elevation view, and that one's kind of important. Also, my question is cost the only reason that the design team didn't attempt to build below grade? I see no underground parking on these drawings, and I just have that question out there. And then also on the entrance to the parking garage is not aligned with eucalyptus. We all know that traffic circle works great. However, that parking is somewhere by the B of A between Eucalyptus and Ocean View, and I don't think the flow is going to be good. You want to come off that circle, go right in the building, especially with all these cars we got. So, I live at 207, walk downtown quite a bit, and it's busy. You get people on that circle. We want to keep cars off that circle if this project goes further. And also, I think the design team needs to provide a 3D model for these type of sessions. The architect is using Revit program. It's Autodesk platform. It wouldn't take much for them to come in here, have that model, turn it whatever way we want to look at it, from above, below. Then we're not, everybody's not trying to, visual, from different parts of the, but that's pretty common in the coordinating these larger projects, and I'm sure they can provide that. And other than that, that was most of my questions. Some of them were already answered. So
Okay.
thank you very
Very
much,
good.
everyone.
Thank you.
Not Lucille Thomas, but Lucette Tomazini, and I live at 244 Ocean View Drive in Vista and have
You're
been
gonna
at,
have to speak up, ma'am. I'm
oh
sorry.
dear, I know, see, that's, I'm nervous. 244 Ocean View Drive, Lucette Tomazini, own my home and lived there since 1980. So it's been quite a while that I've been a resident of Vista and love Vista. First of all, I want to say that I'm very appreciative of the wonderful comments that the people have made here tonight, which have so much weight to them. And I hope that you take everything that they have said into, take it in hand. I'll just add a few things. Ocean View Drive in the past, maybe even 5 years ago, 3 years, every now and then, it becomes a racetrack. And it used to be a thoroughfare to get from Civic Center Drive to South Santa Fe or to East Vista Way. And you'd have cars going up and down and at all speeds. And I asked if they could put a sign. And then you had the semis coming through. One was as large as the front of my house. And so I asked them to put a sign up about the semis. And they did. They said, no semis recommended or something like that, something silly. So that road is narrow, it's small, it's going to be used as a thoroughfare. Are you thinking of road bumps? Are you thinking of turning this into a one-lane road? Can you tell us that? Are you planning that? We need to know. We'd like to know some extra information about what you're going to do with Ocean View Drive. Okay, so certainly 176 times 2 or maybe 3 cars. And like you said, that was a very smart idea. If you have 2 bedrooms with ensuite bedrooms, that could be 2 couples, that could be 4 cars. That's brilliant. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you.
All right. Elvin Picking? Sorry, I'm having a real hard time reading.
Alan Pickering?
Very good. I'm having a hard time reading your writing, sir. My mispronunciation of people's last names and your poor writing is led to a disaster this evening. So you have 3
Good
minutes,
evening.
sir.
Alan Pickering. I own the little dentist building and the little yellow house on 343 Eucalyptus. Support what everyone has said. I'm okay with the development going on there. I just think it's too tall. The one, I don't understand that circumference, they're expanding out. I don't quite understand what they're doing there. Does that go into our property? Because I know there's a grass section there where the dentist building is. And on there, the one rendering they've got, I think it's C1, it shows that the whole road shifts out. So I'm not sure if that's true or not. But just echo what everyone said, and I want something there, but just something more contained, smaller. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Brian McMahon?
Thank you. My name is Brian. My wife and I own 320 Park Avenue, which is immediately across the street, adjacent Allen. And we want very much, probably won't be a popular idea tonight, but to expand our property. And we've explored that with the planning office in the past. It's been a few years, but we're saving up to make that happen. My concern is when I look at this, similar to what Alan said, this city vacancy of a right-of-way. The same was discussed on my property across the street, and it was the same number, 7 feet. So my concern is that effectively, is there a 7-foot right-of-way on both sides of the street, or is this project proposed to push the street out to take up the right-of-way that's on the properties across the street? Basically, is it a sacrifice to the people across the street to gain for the center of that circle? So that's my concern. It's a question. I guess you can't really ask a question here, but it's the concern.
If I can suggest that you talk to Michael after the meeting, and I'm sure he can quantify it. My understanding is that it would be a vacation from both sides, but
Okay.
you need to talk to Michael about that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay? All right. Jim Ellis?
Jim Ellis, owner of the Film Hub across the street from the church. Thanks for the opportunity. I think basically the concern I had was I think variances are a very wonderful thing because it personalizes situations for different people, and it can help make things happen. They were granted to us when we did the Film Hub, and I sure appreciate that. But the one thing is you just have to be careful, I think. Yeah.
Hello.
Have to be careful. I think I want to echo what John said about the precedence it sets. You know, if we do change the height of the building, you know, and allow, does that set a precedence for other projects? And unique, you know, Vista is such a unique town. There's no duplicate anywhere. People love coming here. They like spending time there. And we don't want to take away from that. And that's my concerns.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And our last speaker, Wendy Moling. Okay, that's the last speaker slip I have. So if your issue still hasn't been covered and you want to talk to us, you need to fill out a slip for us.
Hi, I'm Wendy Moling, and I have owned 237 Ocean View since 1998. And I've tried to go to all the meetings of the initial vision of what Vista had for the downtown area. And we were told that it would be a blend of old and new. We were going to keep a lot of the charm of the downtown area. I don't really see that happening, especially with the size of the building. The streets that are next to it don't support that kind of traffic. We can't even support the kind of traffic we have now. Look at some of the Yellow Deli people that walk downtown to go to work or jumping into the bushes, you know, for their lives. Way too many units. The streets are too narrow. Some of the homes, the way you come off your property, that's not me, is it? As you come off.
You addressed your comments to me, please.
Oh, as you come off some of the properties, the angles of the driveways it takes a while to level out. You're already out on the street. Okay. So we're going to have way too many people cutting in and out on that road. It's super dangerous. The events downtown are getting to the point where people start driving up Ocean View. They start parking everywhere that they can in order to find somewhere to park. And if we have this many units and then some kind of event downtown like the Strawberry Festival, oh my God, Pretty soon, they're just going to start parking up our driveways and blocking. I just don't see it being the initial vision and thought that the city had, which was really cool. Let's keep the Avo Theater. Let's have this road that goes into where the movie theater is. Let's incorporate it all. And now this is like just a big LA thing right in the middle. Ocean View is called Ocean View Estates. Is it really going to be like that anymore? I mean, I feel so sorry for the people that are directly around the circumference of that property, and to look up and see this huge building, I think it's just overkill. I'm not against homes and places to stay, but parking already suffers. The amount of noise downtown, the amount of the homeless. Oh yeah, not to mention every time there's a building that something gets torn down and rebuilt, we just get a cloud of dust and dirt. You could just dust 24 hours a day at our homes. Are they doing abatement? Are they covering the asbestos problems? I know when they did the Legion's building, the amount of dirt that came and dust that came flying up. I mean, where's health and safety? Where's health and safety? I think that's first and foremost, and that would be the infrastructure. There's no curbs, there's no gutters, there's no sidewalks, there's no lights. What else? I just don't want to see it turn into a ghetto too quickly. Thank you.
All right, very good. All right. The microphones are finally working for everybody, so thank you, Wendy. That concludes the public portion of this discussion tonight. What we're going to do now is turn it over to the commission. We're going to go through our 4 categories of the design and provide comments back to the applicant. So, commissioners, comments on the site plan and grading. Commissioner Looney?
Conceptually, with the parking on the inside circle, I think that works because it hides the parking. And then to have the living units on the outside, I think conceptually it works. The second part was parking. Grading? Was it site plan and grading?
Site plan and grading.
There wasn't any information really other than the conceptual sections. So it's hard to tell what dirt is being moved and what dirt is staying. Again, need more detail on those site sections and a survey. So that's all I have on that.
Any other comments on site plan? Commissioner Aguilar?
So it'd be good if we could have something that shows the height of your project versus some of the surrounding homes so that we can get a real, I mean, we're throwing around numbers here, 40-foot difference, 30-foot difference, but we're guessing. We need to know what it's really going to look like and what people are actually going to be faced with.
Commissioner Hastings?
I was wondering if it is possible, since I don't understand the geology of that area, to do partially underground parking? Is there, that's a question for whomever,
Yeah,
but
for
that
the
would be
applicant.
something to be
Yeah.
considered,
Okay.
is underground parking a possibility?
Chairman,
Sorry?
he wants to address that question.
Sure, why not?
So we did initially look at a design with underground parking. I know one of the gentlemen, and actually we responded to his email earlier, Jeff Schuler. Yes, we looked at that design initially. Half the site, approximately half the site, I should say, is bedrock condition, is very hard dig condition. Sort of the southeastern portion of the site actually toward Ocean View. The other side of the site is a alluvial condition. So subterranean parking on at least the entire site, or even that half of the site that's bedrock, is pretty infeasible.
Thank you. Anything else? I thought the comment on the entrance of the driveway, lining that up with the street, was a good one, and you should take a look at that. Any other comments on site plan or the grading? All right, how about parking, drives, and traffic? For the audience, they will do an environmental review. I believe as part of that, they will do a traffic study. And so when that document comes out, it's probably going to be what's called a mitigated negative deck, because this is somewhat consistent with the downtown specific plan. So when the project comes out, if you're interested in dust, you're interested in traffic, water, sewer, all those things are going to be answered in that document. That's where you'll find the information. So the environmental review, the negative declaration. But I believe they will be required to do a traffic study, so we'll figure that out. Yes.
This is not the only project. We lost it again. This is not the only project where we've heard issues about traffic on Ocean View, and I don't know, it doesn't necessarily, well, it directly affects this project if there are concerns, but it's not the only time that the public has had real concerns about the use of Ocean View as a cut-through and its inadequacy as a road other than just access to residential.
That's true, and probably should be included in the traffic study. Michael?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear that we don't have an application submitted at this point. So there's been no determination made in terms of what the environmental analysis will be at this point. Once we receive an application, we analyze the project. We'll make a determination on what the appropriate avenue would be to take in regards to this project.
Okay. What Mike was saying is I was too quick. I'm too soon. They haven't made that decision yet. So stay in touch with staff and they'll let you know what the environmental review on the project is what documents being prepared. Floor plans and architectural elevations.
Well, there's no floor plans.
Yeah, there are no floor plans.
The exterior elevations, I think they need some work. There's some elevations that are somewhat very flat with very little articulation or fenestration. And I think it might be worth looking at a couple of different color schemes than what has been presented on your 3D images.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just have a question for
Sure.
the developer, I guess. Are you guys set on this type of theme, the building theme? I mean, we're obviously in early design, so is that something you would consider if we could maybe incorporate more of a Mediterranean, old Vista style into the building somehow?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is this meeting designed to be, and I understand it's contentious and it's, a shock to the system of the project, but we do appreciate everybody's feedback. We're open, we're open to suggestions. We appreciate the constructive feedback. The meeting's designed for us to be able to go back to the drawing board prior to submitting our full development application. So this has been very helpful. We're certainly open to considering alternate color schemes or design options. So
yeah, because this building has been there for decades, almost 100 years, and it is historical, at least to the people of Vista, maybe not to the state of California, but to the state of Vista. So it would be nice to be able to somewhat remember that building somehow and incorporate some of the architecture of that building into your project. The more modern look, I think, is more appropriate in the actual downtown, right on Paseo Santa Fe, where the Ryland building, right there. that makes sense. But I think as we're getting closer and encroaching onto homes, and that we are affecting the value of those homes, and we are affecting, what they look at. So I think it would be appropriate to see if you can incorporate that into your drawings.
Of course, yeah. And design is always subjective. So again, this is very helpful for us to sort of understand where the community's position is and where the commission's position is. So we'll explore that. If I may just make one comment about the driveway or the garage entryway alignment with eucalyptus. We actually started there vis-a-vis the building that everyone mentioned has at the roundabout to the west that has the entry directly from the roundabout. The grade on this site, both combined with kind of the bedrock thing I mentioned earlier, but the grade on this site is fairly tricky because you're dealing with the circle, you're dealing with the circle and you're sloping again from southeast to downward to the northeast. So when you align, if you were to turn the entire building clockwise such that that entryway aligned with eucalyptus, you lose this phenomenal opportunity for these visual corridors. So we explored that design. You lose that view, you lose these potential for these pedestrian plazas, and all you're doing is looking directly into a garage entryway. So
I agree with you on that.
yeah, there's some kind of, it's subjective, right? But there's design elements to that. The other thing to point out regarding the grade, if you were to do the same thing and shift the building clockwise, is that right now the building steps up, and is somewhat carved out or benched out of the grade at the high point on the high side to bring the building down below the true level of ocean view for the reasons of height and step back. It's following the angles of sort of the passive side and the active side of the building, and the garage in the center are following that topography. It's a bit hard to explain. So the direction the building's orientated is designed to follow that, and that's actually the same level by which the garage entry is aligned. If that kind of
Okay.
like wedding
I
cake
understand.
style. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would suggest that even though the people that are closest to this are going to be looking up, I don't know what the elevation is higher up, and are they going to be looking down on it? So I would pay attention to what the roof looks like from that viewpoint.
Understood.
So, are you hiding the stuff or making it just an ugly rooftop?
All right. Any other comments on architecture, floor
Chairman?
plans?
There was a comment made about going an alternative direction in terms of architectural design. That is a major change for the applicant. So I just want to make sure, is that a consensus of the Planning Commission? Because if they do, before they submit their initial application, change the complete architectural style of this building, I just want to make sure that's the expectations of the Planning Commission. If not, is it a mixture of architectural styles, or is this the direction the Planning Commission is directing the applicant to go?
Commissioners, how do you feel? We know how Commissioner Aguilar feels. I mean, on one hand, everything that has pretty much been built in this city is stucco and red tiles. The Ryland was a radical change in that direction, going to a modern architectural design, and I kind of liked it. But this is adjacent to a single-family neighborhood, and my sense is that it should be more compatible with that neighborhood than the modern design being proposed.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
You've also got to be mindful that there's a lot of mid-century modern homes
That's
on
true.
that street.
Yep.
So it's hard to decide a style. Yes, we've got the history of Vista, that's Spanish motif and Mediterranean, but that whole hillside is covered with mid-century modern homes.
Yep.
So I think
And crafts.
we just need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. Okay.
The church is southwestern Mediterranean.
Okay. Thank you. Beth, any other thoughts?
Oh, I think that it should be probably some kind of mixture, actually. An attractive one, appealing, but I think it is important to incorporate some of the historical aspects of the more Spanish architecture. If you could do that and still be mid-century modern, that would be the best.
Well, Irving Gill, maybe, I don't know. Okay. Let's move on to landscaping and amenities. Not a whole bunch of information there, so.
Did Michael get his question answered?
Oh, Michael, did we answer your question?
To the applicant, did you get direction that you need to move forward?
Darren, what do you think? Darren's the principal architect, so.
I think we have enough to talk about it.
Okay. You can always come back. Okay, so landscaping and amenities, they're probably headed in the right direction from what we saw. Overall comments on the project. I would encourage you to hold another neighborhood meeting, and you're going to have to produce a mailing list for public notice for the project when you submit it. So I would go ahead and use that list to notify the neighbors. Environmental review, 4 stories. Housing setback, okay. What do you think, commissioners, what do you think about asking them to produce a model of the site? Don?
Well, are you using Revit or another 3D software? Because if you're using, I mean, you can take an AutoCAD file and you put it in a 3D and
I think it'd be a
create
great
3D
idea
image.
to do that. We already have a model. We haven't completed it because we're trying to get feedback early, as opposed to taking it, all the way down the road. So
Yeah.
it's a balance, right? Of finishing a project and presenting it and then, having to, so we sincerely wanted to have good feedback from this group and that's what we're getting. We will absolutely provide a model.
Okay.
It's part of our design process. I think it'll be very helpful for everybody to understand these different conditions because it changes as you go around that circle. It changes every foot you take. It changes. So
Understand.
I think showing that in 3D would be really helpful. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Super. All right, commissioners, any other comments or discussions? Commissioner Grimm?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about parking, and it's hard to talk about parking and not talk about height and not talk about density at the same time. And I do have concerns, particularly with the parking, which is created by the density and the height. And I have issues because it abuts a single-family neighborhood. It's been my experience that when you have that situation and you don't have enough parking, and you obviously have concessions on parking, and so it's lower than what our standards would normally be. And I understand what the attorney said. There's some, state law that has to be met on concessions and stuff. But still, I think that, usually it ends up as a burden on the single family residents when you have that excess parking that comes out of an apartment project. And if it isn't going to be on the residents, it's probably going to be on the downtown area. So I have real strong concerns about that. I don't know what kind of, I wish I could offer you some great solutions. Any solution I offer is going to cost you a lot of money. One would be, can you, lower the northeast side of the site to one story lower, which provides more view options from the people above it. So I don't know what that, I'm just talking, I don't know what that does to your project, but I'm just saying that I have some severe concerns about the parking and about the look that they're going to have on that project from Ocean View and from that area. So that's my comments.
Okay. Commissioner Aguilar.
I just wanted to agree with Commissioner Grimm. My concerns are the number of units, which again gets to the number of parking units that are going to be required. There's going to be spillover. So I think the more units we add in, the more spillover we're going to have to the neighborhood, to the downtown. And then it goes back to the height. And I think that you're getting the more units because giving you the concession on the height. And I think, we got to figure out, I mean, from 35 to 52, I mean, could they go to 70?
There's 2 points, I guess, on the table right now, and one is parking. So I just want to make sure the planning commission is clear that per state law, the planning commission does not have discretion in regards to the number of parking spaces. It specifically indicates that the city is required to provide the parking identified in the density bonus law, which is what I identified.
But we do have discretion on how many
height.
units and height. And so those are the things that are
City
equaling more parking spaces or less,
So I just want to caution that it is limited discretion. So we would have to provide substantial evidence that one of those criteria exists. There's recent cases in which courts have struck down challenges to these types of concessions. One very recent case from the city of San Diego, a similar development that exceeded the normal zoning standard height limit and had similar issues with respect to view obstruction. So we can provide that case to the Planning Commission, but it is something that I don't want to provide that standard with the thought that many cities have been able to meet it. It is something that's very difficult to meet and withstand legal challenge.
So Michael, what good is our building height regulations in this city if it can be overrun by the state?
Yeah,
That's
it.
Because it's almost to the point where, why do we have to, I know there's legal ramifications, but what's the cost to we're losing the uniqueness of our city due to Sacramento or due to the federal government when we don't have any voice within our own city? And I think why do we meet if we don't have any regulations to control it?
I think.
So
I
your
don't
point is
know
well
that
taken in
Michael's
terms of
going to answer that question for us tonight. So
your point is well taken with respect to the lack of local control, considering the direction of state law with respect to density bonus, with respect to lot splits, with respect to approval of second units that are ministerial now in a lot of cases. So it's a well taken point. Unfortunately, the city is in the position as a local government of being preempted by certain state laws in the realm of land use. It's an unfortunate reality that we have to deal with respect to some of these projects.
Are there
And I want to add one thing. With respect to density bonus law, there are consequences for the city if we do not comply. There are provisions in which if we are challenged on a project, there are attorney's fees provisions within the statute now. So that is a real consideration for the city with respect to the denying a project that is entitled to concessions or waiver of development standards.
This is
If I may,
go ahead.
Commissioners, if I may just say, before going down this path, our intent of being here is to hear these concerns. We hear the concerns loud and clear. I think Darren, myself.
I'm sorry. That public portion is done.
We're only a few months into this on our side, and that's most of those months are spent internally, figuring this out and going back and forth, and consultants and working with everyone, engineering, civil engineering, Vista Irrigation District staff. So this is very, very early. We don't intend to pursue anything with regard to what staff is saying about density bonus law and all that stuff. We want to be a good neighbor. We hear everyone's comments loud and clear. So I just prefer not to go down that path. And, we certainly hear you about additional public outreach and meeting people individually, one-on-one. Whatever it takes, that's the direction we're headed.
All right. Commissioner Garrettson.
Yes, I guess it's off again. I would suggest that before you meet with the neighbors, you have some sort of a plan about taking down the church in terms of dust, in terms of potential asbestos, at least give them some assurance of what you're going to be able to do to protect them.
Good point. All right. So as I said earlier, this was a discussion item. We have provided our input to the applicant, and that concludes this portion of tonight's meeting. And sure, Charlie, why
Sorry.
not?
Sorry, guys, he was trying to wind down, and I did have one additional comment for you. It kind of sounds like from what, we're sitting here saying that the project is just, terrible. There are some really good things about the
Yes.
project. One is that it's so close to the downtown. It brings shoppers that would live there into the downtown. It would help downtown businesses and diners. So there are some good things about the project. I hope you can kind of work through, these issues. And so-
I like the way that the parking spaces are wrapped by the building. That's an excellent design. I like that very much, but you're right. There are good points to the project. So, all right.
Wings. I like the wings.
All Darren, we
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you very much. Sorry. Come on. Our student commissioners. They got a class tonight.
I'm going to mostly focus on the details of the project that's being proposed here. I don't have enough information regarding the project, the building that's already there to make comments on that. So I'm just going to focus on this. To agree with Commissioner Grimm, there are some positive aspects. It's in downtown, it means it's theoretically walkable to visit local amenities. Transit center development is something that San Diego County needs. So building stuff that's close to the Springer centers so you can get around San Diego County easily all makes sense. But some of that is theoretical. I think with the expanding circle and reducing the right of way and potential loss of space for pedestrian infrastructure, I think there's some losses in that. I think there's definitely issues with poor traffic management and not enough space for parking and just the people that are living there. And I definitely think more emphasis needs to be placed on environmental issues, like the use of solar panels on the roof, which was mentioned on the residents. Water conservation, I think, is particularly important to emphasize for new projects. And one thing that I will agree with a lot of local residents, and it's particularly a pet peeve of mine with recent construction near my neighborhood, is living in Southern California, mission revival architecture is something that's really important. And I think the choice to not include that sort of Spanish style is a mistake. But I will say that this sort of development makes some sense. We just might need to tone down the style. Maybe make changes to our existing style.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ray.
I was just wondering, I mean, this is a potential idea, I don't know if it's allowed to ask, but I was wondering if maybe the applicant would be considering to change from apartments to maybe homes, like small little homes, so maybe create a community of homes, because I feel like that will address the issue of parking, because all homes have driveways, it won't block any views, as neighbors were saying, and I feel like it'll just accommodate everyone's needs a lot better. I don't know if that's allowed to be asked, but
You can ask.
just a recommendation, and then, I mean, I feel like everyone will be happier that way. But I really do like the designs of the parking and everything. Maybe if we did, if the applicant did take down a story, just to accommodate everyone's needs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, can we introduce our student commission?
Would you like to? No? Peter Childs and Kasane Rio Herrera are both, you go to Rancho, right? Yes, they're both Longhorns and have been on, this year is their year to be on the planning commission. So the chairman sometimes forgets to. Very good. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to Commissioners' reports. Anything to report from the commission? All right. Ms. Chow, is Mr. Conley still here, or are you going to do the report?
He's pointing at me, so I guess I'm doing it
All
by
right. Ms.
default.
Chow.
Yes, good evening, Chairman Rustler. Just wanted to mention that we will have a meeting on April the 19th. There are a couple of items that will be presented that night, and they're both public hearing items. And we are continuing to be busy with projects in the pipe that are continuously being reviewed by staff. And I don't have any other updates at this point unless you have questions for me. Thank you.
Ms. Chow, can you tell us what's happening to the mini storage on East Vista Way, just south of Beaubier? They seem to have stopped construction.
Yes, that was my project and continues to go and stop. They've been dealing with a lot of engineering issues on the site. And so quite a few of them, including the retaining wall, as you know. It's been difficult, a site to develop, but I don't know any other specifics other than that, whether it's some financing issues or otherwise.
Okay. All right, very good. Any other question? Commissioner Looney?
I noticed there was a public notice sign on the hotel at 78 in Mar Vista. Are they planning a major remodel or a new building? Could you kind of give us an update on that?
They have been contemplating the possibility of a single room occupancy at that location and for consideration by the city, but we shouldn't really be talking about the project because Amanda will probably signal me. And so that's as much as I can probably share at this point.
Well, there was a public notice sign on the property, so that's why I was asking the question.
No problem.
Charlie?
I just wanted to get an update from Mr. Conley on the gas station on the corner. Just kidding.
All right. If there is nothing else, commissioners, staff, all right, we stand adjourned until April 19th.